여러분들은 하루를 어떻게 시작하시나요? 누군가는 간단하게 이불 정리를, 누군가는 일어나자마자 독서를, 그리고 누군가는 스마트폰을 확인할 겁니다. 이처럼 이른 아침부터 생산적인 루틴을 하는 사람이 있는 반면 그저 본능에 따라 움직이는 사람들도 많을 겁니다. 어떻게 보면 그저 작고 사소한 행동들이지만 이 같은 행동들이 모여 삶의 큰 변화를 만들어냅니다. 그리고 여기 흥미로운 이야기가 있습니다. 한 신경과학자의 말에 따르면 아침에 단 몇 분만 특정한 행동을 했을 때 그날 하루의 집중력과 각성 수준이 올라가고 수면의 질이 높아질 거라고 이야기합니다. 그 행동이 뭐길래 단 몇 분만 투자해도 이 같은 극적인 효과를 볼 수 있는 걸까요? 그래서 오늘은 스탠포드 대학의 뇌과학 교수 앤드루 후버만이 이야기하는 하루를 좌우하는 한 가지 아침 루틴을 소개해드리려고 합니다. 좋은 내용들이 많으니 꼭 끝까지 들어보시길 바랍니다.
I wake up in the morning and I want to reach for my phone. But I know that even if I were to crank up the brightness on that phone screen, it's not bright enough to trigger that cortisol spike and for me to be at my most alert and focused throughout the day and to optimize my sleep at night. So what I do is I get out of bed and I go outside. There's so many different wavelengths of light coming from the sun, and they are bright enough that they will trigger the mechanisms that you want triggered at this early time of day. So try and get outside, ideally within the first 5 minutes of waking, or maybe it's 15 minutes, but certainly within the first hour after waking. I want to share with you 3 critical things about this tool of morning sunlight viewing. First of all, this is not some woo biology thing. This is grounded in the core of our physiology. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of quality peer-reviewed papers showing that light viewing early in the day is the most powerful stimulus for wakefulness throughout the day, and it has a powerful positive impact on your ability to fall and stay asleep at night. So this is really the foundational power tool for ensuring a great night's sleep and for feeling more awake during the day. Second of all, if you wake up before the sun is out, you can and probably should flip on artificial lights in your internal home environment or apartment or wherever you happen to live if your goal is to be awake. If you wake up at 4 in the morning and you need to be awake, well then turn on artificial lights. Once the sun is out, however, once the sun has risen, then you still want to get outside and view sunlight. Some of you will wake up before the sun comes out, and if you're asking whether or not turning on artificial lights can replace sunlight at those hours, unfortunately the answer is no. Unless you have a very special light, we'll talk about what kind of light, bright artificial lights in your home environment are not going to be sufficiently bright to turn on the cortisol mechanism and the other wake-up mechanisms that you need early in the day. The diabolical twist, however, is that those lights in your home or apartment or even on your phone are bright enough to disrupt your sleep if you look at them too late at night or in the middle of the night. So there's this asymmetry in our retinal, our eye biology, and in our brain's biology, whereby early in the day, right around waking, you need a lot of light, a lot of photons, a lot of light energy. And artificial lights generally just won't accomplish what you need them to accomplish. But at night, even a little bit of artificial light can really mess up your so-called circadian, your 24-hour clocks, and all these mechanisms that we're talking about. So if you wake up before the sun is out and it's still dark, please turn on as many bright artificial lights as you possibly can or need, but then get outside once the sun is out. And I can see where the sun is. I do not need to stare directly into the sun. If it's very low in the sky, I might do that because it's not going to be very painful to my eyes. However, if the sun is a little bit brighter and a little bit higher in the sky, sometimes it can be painful to look at. So the way to get this sunlight viewing early in the day is to look toward the sun. If it's too bright to look at directly, well then don't do that. You just look toward it but not directly at it. It's absolutely fine to blink. In fact, I encourage you to blink whenever you feel the impulse to blink. Never look at any light, sunlight or otherwise, that's so bright that it's painful to look at because you can damage your eyes. But for this morning sunlight viewing, it's best to not wear sunglasses. That's right, to not wear sunglasses, at least for this morning sunlight viewing. It is absolutely fine to wear eyeglasses or contact lenses, so-called corrective lenses. In fact, those will serve you well in this practice or this tool because they will focus the light onto your neural retina and onto those melanopsin and intrinsically photosensitive ganglion cells. How much light and how much light viewing do you need? This is going to vary depending on person and place, literally where you live on Earth, whether or not there's a lot of tree cover, whether or not you're somebody who has sensitive eyes or less sensitive eyes. It's really impossible for me to give an absolute prescriptive, but we can give some general guidelines. In general, on a clear day, meaning no cloud cover or minimal cloud cover, you want to get this sunlight exposure to your eyes for about 5 minutes or so. Could be 3 minutes one day, could be 7 minutes the next day, about 5 minutes. On a day where there's cloud cover, so the sun is just peeking through the clouds or it's more dense cloud cover, you want to get about 10 minutes of sunlight exposure to your eyes early in the day. And on days that are really densely overcast or maybe even a rainy, you're going to want to get as much as 20 or 30 minutes of sunlight exposure. Another key thing is do not forget about, just don't try and get this sunlight exposure through a windshield of a car or a window, whether or not it's tinted or otherwise. It takes far too long. It's simply not going to trigger the relevant mechanisms. You would be standing there all day trying to get enough light into your eyes from the morning sunlight, and by then, the sun will have already moved from low solar angle to overhead, and it simply won't work for all sorts of mechanisms related to your circadian rhythm functions. So just don't try and do it through a windshield, sunglasses, or a window. It's just not going to work. Get outside. If the weather is really bad or for whatever reason, safety reasons, you cannot get outside, well then I suppose try and get near a window. That would be the last resort. But you really want to get outside to get this sunlight exposure.
오늘은 스탠퍼드 대학의 뇌과학 교수 앤드루 후버만이 이야기하는 하루를 좌우하는 한 가지 아침 루틴을 소개해드렸습니다. 오늘 내용은 어떻게 보면 아침에 햇빛을 보자라는 간단한 내용일 수 있습니다. 하지만 언제나 변화는 작고 간단한 일에서 시작됩니다. 이 같은 작은 행동과 실천들이 모이면 작은 변화로 이어지고 이 변화들이 모이면서 우리의 삶을 천천히 바꾸게 됩니다. 그러니 그 어떤 사소한 루틴이라도 가볍게 여기지 마시고 이를 실천으로 옮겨보시길 바랍니다. 여러분들은 어떻게 생각하시나요? 감사합니다.